Hi. So today we're going to have a look at how to set up your new user account and register your application on CumulusGate.com. And then we'll have a look at how to hook into the licensing services in your .NET desktop applications. So I'm currently at the CumulusGate main webpage at CumulusGate.com, and what you need to do is to head straight over to register or sign in, and here you can create a new account. So if you don't already have an account, select register and create that new account. I'm going to use one of my sample accounts to show you how the process works with setting up a new application. Right, so once you've signed in, you should be directed to your account dashboard, and here you'll see a combination of your own apps, which I currently don't have on this user account. You'll see licenses that have been assigned to you, which is what we currently see here, although they've expired, and you will be able to see the licenses that you administrate, in other words, enterprise licensing, which we'll talk about a bit later. So the first thing you want to do is register a new application, right? This is for developers, of course. If you're not a developer and you're only a user and you want to purchase software, then you'll simply head over to the software shop and search for the application that you would like to purchase and then go through the purchase process. But for developers, head over to the developers area. If you haven't got any applications registered, then the register new application dialog by default would be expanded so you can create or register your new application. First thing we do is we specify the company name or the vendor name, the application name, and we'll just call this one Demo App 2, for example. We need to create a unique ID that is associated with the app, and we'll use that later on to link back to the app through the .NET source code and the CumulusGate.NET libraries. We will specify a logo or an image, and take note that this should be around 250 by 250 pixels maximum, right? We can specify a URL to our web page. This is what our customers will see when they purchase the app so that they can link back to your website. We specify a price, so this could be anything. It really depends on you. It's very flexible, and you can choose what that renewal cycle is. So if someone paid the $5, do they get to use it permanently, annually, monthly, weekly, or daily? We're going to say, for this example, monthly. You can optionally link your PayPal integration or PayPal ID. So for me, this would be sales@bimux.nz, and we've got some instructions here on how to set up your PayPal in order to link that straight with CumulusGate. And remember, when you get paid through PayPal or the Stripe services, that goes directly to you. It doesn't change hands with us. You also need to specify your Stripe ID if you want to enable purchases with Stripe. If you don't want to do that, you can disable this option. By default, it's using the CumulusGate registered Stripe ID, which means in this case, if you don't update this with your own Stripe ID using, again, the tutorial that we provide, then it will change hands with CumulusGate, which means there'll be a little bit of a processing delay because we first have to clear funds in our accounts and then transfer that back to you. To bypass all of this and get money straight into your hands, all you need to do is follow these instructions and then set up your own Stripe ID. You don't have to integrate with Stripe or PayPal. You can do one or the other, or none of them if you choose to. But if you choose to use none of them by leaving those fields blank and unchecking this option, then of course your clients wouldn't be able to do online purchases, and you'll have to deal with that manually, which is an option that you can do if you want, but it's completely up to you. I'll demonstrate that in a minute. Then you can set up your optional trial duration, and as the information text says, if you don't want to offer trial functionality, then leave this value as 0, right? Who's the app admin? It'll by default be the person registering the application. So in this case, it's my user 2. And then there's a short message that you can enter that will be sent to all new recipients of your licenses. So if a customer purchases a license of your software, then the system would send them an email with instructions on what to do and how to access that license through the CumulusGate service. You can leave this blank if you want us to generate one for you, and I'll show you what that looks like. So once you're done, you hit submit, and if everything checks out, then you'll see that your app will be added now to the developers area under my registered applications, right? So there's the app. We can go back at any time and manage that. So if I click on manage, you'll notice we get to an app management area where we can either assign licenses manually. Remember earlier I mentioned you can do a manual assignment. So if I received a bank transfer, for instance, or have an agreement with a customer that they don't do online purchases, then we can activate licenses here. Now we can either do bulk licenses and then specify who the admin person is going to be, and I'll demonstrate it later, or we can leave that unchecked and then assign a single license, or we can do a trial, right? We'll get back to that. Now if we want to change some details of our registered application, all we need to do is click on update the application here, and we can go and change most of these properties. I say most because the one we can't change is the direct link URL, which I'll talk about in a minute, and the product code, right? So this is static, we cannot change that. The rest of the details you can change. You'll also notice that we've generated a auto response email content for you, and this is pretty much what it says. So you're able to change that if you want to, but by default this should work just fine for you. Now that that's been set up, we can start assigning licenses and using the app in the store. So by default, when you go to the software shop, you won't necessarily see your own registered applications if they're already assigned to you. You'll only see applications that have not been assigned to you. Yes, you are the owner of this application, but you haven't assigned a license to yourself, so it does appear in the app shop. And let's see what that looks like, and this is also what your clients will see. So either they can start searching for your application using the filter tool above the search table, or they can scroll down to your app. Or you can optionally provide your users with a custom URL, which I'll explain quickly. So if we go back to the developers area and we hit manage, under the application info you'll see that there is a direct link, and this is the link that you can share directly with your customers, and when they select that you'll see that it'll go straight to their application or your application where they can continue with the purchase. Even if you were not logged into the service, you can still use that. And what I'll do is I'll just open up another browser and I'll show you what that would look like. So currently this user is not signed in, and if this user decided to sign in, and I'll use my other account, then they will be redirected to your purchase page. So there we go, and here your users can choose to either purchase this using PayPal or Stripe. Let's say we use PayPal as an example. Your user can either choose to purchase a single license, which is the default, or they can choose to buy bulk licenses, enterprise licensing, and here you can specify the number. And if they choose to buy more than a single license, in other words an enterprise license, then instead of having the license assignee, we have the license admin person. And I'll show you what that looks like in a bit once again when you assign bulk licenses to your users. Oops, I did something wrong there. Okay, so this is how we go about registering new applications and managing them. Right, now what if we wanted to assign licenses to users? Let's go give that a go. First I'm going to assign a single license to a user, and then I'll remove that license again, and then I'm going to assign enterprise licensing and see how the administration platform works. So for a single license, all you need to do, if someone has not gone through the automated online purchase process, if you want to do it manually, is you need to provide the user email address, and you can optionally add a note here. I'll just say that this was a manual add, and as soon as I hit the add button, you'll notice that that appears under my current users for that application. So whenever I go to my application, this one, and I hit manage, you'll see it'll show me the current users underneath that. Here I can see the username, the registered date, the current expiry date, so it knows that it's an annual renewal, remember, and it hasn't got a trial expiry because it's a full license. When did this user last access the license? What were the custom notes? And do I want to remove the license? Excuse me. Now, again, using another browser, I'm going to quickly log into that account and see what that looks like. So let's go to CumulusGate, and let's log in as that user. Remember, this one now is user 1. This is our sample and default user that we use, and the password here is 123456, which your browser might complain about because it's not very secure, but that's not really important since this is just a demo user. So, excuse me. So now that this user is signed in, we can see from his dashboard or her dashboard, it says Permux Limited Demo App 2, and that's the one that we just assigned. At any point, that user can click on View Detail, and they'll be able to see the details of that license. Now, After this exercise, once we're through with the web platform, we'll get into the coding and see how we access the license information through the CumulusGate NuGet packages and libraries. Right, so that's what it looks like when you assign single licenses. Now let's remove the license. So I'm back here in my user 2 account on my other browser, imagining this is another workstation. And what we're going to do is we're going to remove that single license. We asked to confirm, of course. And once we've done that, we're going to assign an enterprise license to this user. So we're going to assign 5 licenses to that user again. And I'm going to use the same user this time, so user 1, and I'll just say manual add again, and I'm going to add that. Right. So now we've got again user 1, but this time you'll see this user has got 5 licenses. So at the bottom here under notes, it'll say licenses 5 and then in use 0. Now let's go back to our user 1 and refresh because we want to see the new updated data. And now you'll see for the demo app, suddenly it says we've got a total of 5 licenses and 0 in use. Now instead of a view detail button, because it's an enterprise license, user 1 has got an admin button. So user 1 can click on admin and see the application details, but also assign licenses to users within that person's organization or group, whether it be within the same organization or group of companies or whatever, it doesn't really matter. There's 5 floating licenses, and user 1 can assign this to whomever this user chooses to. So let's say user 1 assigns one of these licenses to user 3. Alright, and you can obviously enter multiple emails here using a semicolon if you want to do bulk administrations, if you've got thousands of licenses or whatever. So let's click on add users, and suddenly you'll see now it says the number of users is 1 of 5. The active users currently is user 3 at Brimworks, and I also actually want to assign user 1, so I want to assign that license to the administrator as well. You can do that. So now suddenly we've got user 3, we've got user 1, we can see that we've got 2 of 5 licenses in use. Right? And that's as simple as that. So when we go back to the dashboard, again we can see here total of 5 licenses, 2 in use. If I refresh my page back on user 2, who's the owner of the app, the same information appears here. I can see that there are 2 licenses in use of a total of 5 licenses. And of course, if we sign out here and we sign in as one of these users, like example user 3, then we should see that user 3 has got a single license, not an admin license, assigned to demo app 2, and we can demonstrate that. So let's go back here, let's go user 3, 3 at brimworks.nz, and we enter that password, and we can see here, there we go, demo app 2. There is a total of 5 licenses, in use is 2, but one of these were assigned. It's not admin, it's a detail, because this user, user 3, is not an administrator, it's just a license user. And it's as simple as that to set up your licensing and the different types of licenses within the web platform.